Today we're stretching, which is something that I typically do before all workouts. Some are better than others in my stretching, but for the most part, I need to work on committing to just coming to the mat to stretch and not only just because I'm about to do a workout. Because I can actually come with intention to really dig deeper into the muscles and love on them, right? We are so good at our workouts, we don't always take the time to stretch. So I have 3 things that I utilize. It's a PVC pipe. You can get them super cheap in any like Lowe's or Home Depot. I think they're $1.69 and they're excellent for stretching. So that's one that I recommend, an easy buy. Then a yoga stretching strap, which can be looped like this. If you don't have one of these or you haven't yet invested, I love them for several reasons, but a towel works great too. You can like hook that at the bottom of your foot and pull and get a good stretch in from that. And then foam rolling. So I'm going to do a separate video on foam rolling, but I will talk about that a little bit in this video. In fact, let me just talk about it now. So you can get different firmness in a foam roller. You've even seen, you might have even seen like ones with little knots on them, and that's just to give you a little bit deeper press into that muscle. So I stuck with a firm one, and my recommendation when you do that is utilize, let me move this guy, when you are doing a foam roll, the idea is to put as much body weight as possible on that hot spot. So for me, my quads are always tight, so I sometimes have to have the support of my foot and both hands. And that's just a part of the journey. It's just a reminder of how important it is to stretch. But if you can have less limbs supporting you, the better, because you're going to have more body weight to press into that, which is why a firm foam roller works, because you can actually lighten up on that by supporting with your hands and the other foot. So when you foam roll, one of the things is you want to press into that hot spot for a minimum of 30 seconds. And you will notice the heat or the pain will alleviate the longer that you press on that. And that's what you want. You want to actually break up that lactic acid. So when you first come to the foam roller, you'll roll it out a little bit until you find where that hot spot is. And once you do, which I found it, you're going to want to hold it there. And then don't forget to breathe. It's a super important part of this too, because the tension and the pain in there, we sometimes hold our breath, and you actually just want to keep working through and breathing through it. So that's my tip for there. I'll do a video, like I said, of foam rolling, because there's so many different movements, muscles, that it needs its own video. So typically I start with this guy, and I just want to open up the spine. I, over a year ago, threw out my lower back, and so that was a huge eye-opener of why I need to stretch, and actually just open everything up before I start lifting heavy weights, even medium weights, honestly. Anytime we do an activity, running, biking, it's good to stretch. So basically I'm like plie out, and this is a really good one for the inner thighs and even the chest. So gripping, your hands will come around like this, and you'll drop and keep your legs as straight as possible. If you find that you're having to bend, stop in that moment, or in that movement. You don't have to go all the way down. That'll come in time as you begin to stretch and open up the body and loving on those muscles. You'll be able to dig a little bit deeper. So holding in this position for like a good 5 seconds, coming up, and then again on this side. So once you've found your spot, you'll want to open up the chest and look all the way up at your fingertips and stretching there. So that's one movement. I'll do that 5 on each leg. Another one to target the hamstrings is to place this pipe along your spine. So touching the back of your head and in between the tailbone. And you'll come as far as you can while keeping the pole against those 2 points of the body. If you find that the pole is coming up, bring your body back up so that you're actually keeping those points attached. And breathing in and feeling that muscle stretch in the back. For me, it's so tight, but I'm feeling a good stretch. So that I'll do up and down again, like 10 times, and with each time, you might even notice you're able to dig a little deeper in that. So that's some of the movements that I love to do with that guy. Then I'm going to show an example with the towel. This is like a hand towel size. You could even do like a small bath towel if you need, which will work. So with my right foot, I'm going to swing this on over, keeping your left leg straight. And we're going to start stretching this. So knee to chest is where we're going to go. Even if you're bending, that's fine. You can keep a straight leg, props. I find when I come to the mat for stretching, I'm very much humbled because I don't do it enough, and it's one of my commitments of doing this video is to actually hold myself accountable in my stretching. So pulling down and digging into that and holding for 30 seconds. So with each stretch, hold for 30. Then you'll grip with one hand and you'll straighten that leg out as much as possible and keeping your hips square and coming over and stretching there. If you can pull that knee close to elbow, awesome, and hold it there for 30 seconds. So that is an excellent way to stretch the inner thigh, and then slowly bringing it up. And then I'm going to show you, I'm going to swap out and grab this guy. So I pre-looped it just enough for my foot to fit through and place right in the center where the arch is. And again, using, the closer you go, the more tension you're going to have to pulling down in, knee to chest, keeping that other leg straight and square off the hips and keep pressing, pulling that in. So you should feel it all along in here, maybe a little bit in the inner of your hands. I'm actually going to pivot this out because it was kind of rolling in. But 2 hands, if you can get enough power with one, that's fine too. But I find that if I need 2, just to really drive that down in, get as much pull as I can. And then slowly straightening that leg out and coming out. And stretching, even if you want to extend your other hand out and holding for 30 and breathing through it. Don't forget to breathe, because that's so important. All right, slowly coming back. So those are a few utilizing that. Just some classic stretching is going to be on all fours and doing your cat-cow. So cat is when you drop your hips down in and you raise, this is cow. And then you raise your head up, giving a really good stretch. So when I threw my back out, I had an x-ray done, and my posture, and I'm a hairstylist, is to tuck my hips when I stand. And so over the 20 years of doing hair, 19 at the time, I ended up just and the lower back just went and tucked under. So I no longer had an arch. So for me, within my personal stretching, I actually do a lot of arching of my back to get that opened up and stretch. And I'll come in and I'll do a cow. But because my x-ray shows that I already have this roundedness in the back, or did, I should say, I don't spend a lot of time in this move. So, but with stretching, just like any other workout movement, listen to your body. You want to not overextend even in stretching because you actually are here to warm the muscles up, and eventually you'll get to that next level and that deeper stretch. So this is an example. So we're in downward dog. The idea is to eventually get your heels to the mat, right? But if you can't and you find yourself up here, that's okay, because the more you stretch, the more you can get those heels to touch the mat. So it's meeting yourself where you are, not overdoing it, and listening to the body. It's what I preach in all of my workouts, is just listen. Eventually you'll get there. You know, that's a part of goals, right? In the movies. But if your goal in your stretching is to eventually be palms down, feet flat, then you're there, right? Like you have something to work towards. If you can't, and that's too much pressure here, then bend at the knees a little bit, grab your outer elbows, and just hang and feel it. You can even sway if you want. And that just opens everything up, lower back, and into your hands. And then slowly walk out. One of my favorite stretches, especially since I run, I do a lot of lower body work, is going to be the pigeon. So back up here. So a lot of times I like to stretch it all the way out and then bring in that leg. And this is going to work this area. So if you find that you're needing support, you can roll a towel, or you can invest in one of the yoga blocks, which has different heights, and that can support under there. Because sometimes you just need that. You're still getting a good stretch, but you need to support. And so, like I said, a towel rolled up under there will support it. So in this movement, I am stretching right here, chest open, and letting my body sink into this. And then after I feel like 30 seconds and that tension of stretching has kind of lightened up in that hot spot area, I'll begin to walk out and drop and like melt into the ground. And you can turn your head left or right, or keeping your head down, forward is fine too. If you find that you're leaning to the left or the right, either way, find where you need support. If this is too much, you can even come up to your knee or your elbows and do it this way and still get the effectiveness. So again, as you build in the gym and you're adding weight with progression of strength building, this is the same for stretching. So you may not be able to melt down into the ground yet, but that's okay, because you're meeting yourself where you need to be. So elbows are another alternative to still sinking in and getting that stretch. So anytime I come out of this move, I actually go up into downward dog and then just rotate that leg. Get that blood flow back in there because it is so tight for me. And then I walk it out, extend that left leg, and swing it on through, dropping down, keeping the hips nice and square, and chest open, holding and finding that sweet spot, hot spot even, to where you're feeling it. And then when you're ready, slowly walk down to elbows or all the way down to the ground. and breathing through. And you will notice that sometimes one side is tighter than the other, and that's okay, that's normal. We tend to dominate one side or another. I'm actually right-handed, but I have better strength in my left leg. So for stability even, like balancing, which is kind of funny. But for whatever reason, I have more mobility on the left than I do on the right. So my right tends to be tightened. But it could also be just merely because if I favor and I'm standing, or I lean to left or right. But I give each side the love it needs. Coming back out of this, rotating and rounding out, and going back and forth. And then the final, just walking out, pressing, heels down, and that final deep breath in, blowing all of the tension out, slowly dropping down the knees, and that is it. And you can spend as much time in those positions. I've actually even taken restorative classes where I've been in that particular position for 3 to 5 minutes and just melting down in. And I think we only did like 6 to 8 exercises because you're doing one to each side, but holding it for 3 to 5 minutes. And unbelievable. So my encouragement to you is find time in your week to just do a good stretch. Coming to the mat, coming to a towel, even if you don't have a yoga mat, or your carpet, or your tile floor. Just find time to stretch for yourself and love on those muscles. They deserve it just as much as we're building muscle in the biceps and the glutes and all of those other things that we are more passionate about. But just a couple more things I wanted to say is thank you for keeping me accountable to stretch 3 times a week on my own, not before a workout, but coming to the mat with intention. And also one more reminder is don't forget to subscribe so we can work out together.